writing. The front door slammed shut so hard that the picture frames rattled against the wall. 3 frightened children stood in my hallway with tiny backpacks clutched against their chests, while my younger sister's car disappeared around the corner without a single glance back. She had smiled only moments earlier and promised she would be back in just 1 hour. I believed her because she was my sister. I watched the clock for 60 minutes, then 2 hours, then the entire night. Days turned into weeks, weeks became months, and before I realized it, 12 years had passed. Then one cold Monday morning, a court officer handed me legal papers. My own sister was suing me for custody, money, and emotional damages, claiming I had stolen the children she abandoned. Before we continue this emotional story, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us how love can change lives. My name is Grace Carter, and I lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. I was 36 years old, worked as a public librarian, and had never married. Life was simple, peaceful, and predictable until the afternoon my younger sister, Rebecca Carter, appeared at my doorstep with her 3 children. The oldest was Nathan, only 8 years old. His little sister, Abigail, was 6, and the youngest, Samuel, had just turned 3. Their clothes were wrinkled, their faces looked tired, and their small hands held backpacks that contained little more than a few changes of clothes and worn-out toys. Rebecca looked exhausted but strangely calm as she hurried back to her car after saying she needed just 1 hour to handle an emergency. She drove away before I could ask another question. That evening, the children waited by the front window, convinced their mother would return before bedtime. Nathan tried to comfort his younger siblings even though fear was written across his own face. Abigail quietly cried herself to sleep while holding an old stuffed rabbit. Samuel kept asking when Mommy would come back. I had no answers, only hope. I called Rebecca's phone dozens of times, but every call went straight to voicemail. I contacted friends, neighbors, hospitals, and even police departments. No one had seen her. It was as if she had vanished from the world. The following weeks forced me to become something I had never planned to be. I learned how to braid Abigail's hair before school. I attended Nathan's baseball games and cheered louder than anyone else in the stands. I rocked Samuel to sleep through countless nights filled with nightmares. Money became tight because 3 growing children required food, clothes, school supplies, and medical care. I worked extra shifts at the library, cleaned houses during weekends, and quietly sold many of my own belongings just to make sure the children never noticed how difficult life had become. They never went to bed hungry, and every Christmas morning there were presents under the tree, even if I had to sacrifice my own wishes. Years slowly reshaped our broken family into something beautiful. Nathan became a responsible teenager who helped mow lawns around the neighborhood to contribute to household expenses. Abigail discovered a passion for music and filled our little home with the sound of her violin every evening. Samuel grew into a cheerful young man whose laughter healed wounds I thought would never close. They stopped calling me Aunt Grace and naturally began calling me Mom. The first time Samuel introduced me that way at school, tears filled my eyes because I realized love had quietly rewritten our family story. I never corrected him. I had earned that title, 1 bedtime story, 1 school meeting, and 1 comforting hug at a time. Eventually, the court granted me full legal guardianship after every effort to locate Rebecca failed. The children legally became my responsibility, and our lives finally settled into peace. We celebrated birthdays, graduations, and countless ordinary moments that became extraordinary simply because we faced them together. The scars of abandonment never completely disappeared, but they slowly faded beneath years of unconditional love. Then, 12 years after Rebecca disappeared, everything shattered once again. A black luxury SUV stopped outside my house one autumn morning. Rebecca stepped out wearing expensive clothes and designer sunglasses. She looked healthier than I had ever seen her. She smiled as though she had merely returned from a weekend vacation instead of abandoning her children for over a decade. The children barely recognized her. Nathan stood frozen with disbelief. Abigail quietly walked back inside the house. Samuel simply stared at the stranger claiming to be his mother. Within days, legal papers arrived. Rebecca claimed she had spent years building a successful business in another state after escaping an abusive relationship. She argued that she had always intended to return for her children once her life improved. She accused me of manipulating them, turning them against her, and unlawfully keeping them away. She demanded custody, reimbursement for lost parental rights, and compensation for emotional suffering. The accusations felt like knives cutting through every sacrifice I had ever made. Friends encouraged me to fight, but I was terrified. I feared the law might value biology over love. I feared the children would once again become victims of decisions made by adults. Most of all, I feared losing the family that had become my entire world. The courtroom became the stage for 12 years of buried pain. Rebecca spoke confidently about fresh starts and second chances. She described herself as a woman who had finally rebuilt her life. But the evidence painted a different picture. Phone records showed she had deliberately changed numbers. Financial documents revealed she had earned enough money to contact or support the children years earlier. Witnesses testified that she never once attempted to locate them. Every birthday, every graduation, every Christmas had passed without a single letter, card, or phone call. Then came the most emotional moment of the trial. Nathan, now 20 years old, calmly addressed the judge. He explained that being a parent was never about giving birth. It was about staying when life became difficult. Abigail described how I held her through panic attacks after nightmares of being abandoned again. Samuel spoke about the woman who attended every school concert, every doctor's appointment, every important moment of his childhood. None of them spoke with anger. They spoke with gratitude. Their words filled the courtroom with a silence heavier than any argument. The judge looked toward Rebecca before delivering the decision. He acknowledged that people can change and deserve opportunities to rebuild their lives, but he also stated that children are not possessions waiting on a shelf until someone decides to reclaim them. Parenthood is measured by commitment, sacrifice, and presence. Rebecca's lawsuit was dismissed entirely, and because all 3 children were now either adults or legally free to choose their own guardian, they unanimously chose to remain with me. Rebecca quietly walked out of the courthouse without looking back. For a brief moment, I felt sadness instead of victory. I realized she had not only lost the case, but had missed 12 irreplaceable years that no court could ever return. Success, money, and comfort could never replace bedtime stories, scraped knees, family dinners, and graduation hugs. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories about love, family, and hope. Before we finish, please leave a comment and tell us, in your opinion, what truly makes someone a parent, blood or the love they give every single day? As we drove home from the courthouse, the autumn sun painted the sky with warm shades of gold. Nathan smiled from the driver's seat, Abigail rested her violin beside her, and Samuel laughed about stopping for ice cream on the way home. In that simple moment, I realized the greatest reward was never winning the lawsuit. It was hearing the laughter of 3 children who had once stood abandoned in my hallway and now stood confidently together as a family. Life had taught me that kindness often demands painful sacrifices, second chances are precious when they are earned, and real love is never proven by words spoken too late. It is proven by showing up every single day, especially when no one else does.